recorded and you'd like to speak or something like that, feel free to jump off now, and we will upload this later this afternoon to our YouTube page, and you can review it there. We'll again send out meeting minutes later this week. So let's go ahead and get started. Well, welcome to our monthly meeting. Um, I don't think we have a ton of things on the schedule for today, but we will tackle our normal agenda items nonetheless and get you guys through your day. But let's first start out with a roll call. Well, quick review of the agenda. We do have, I won't say a special guest speaker today, but Rachel from STARS will be talking on our focus area this month. One of those for the month of August, according to our calendar, is STARS. So we want to give them their opportunity to um, give them their opportunity to talk about what STARS is, what STARS does for those who are not familiar with how East West Gateway and the like are set up. We'll roll right into their healthcare coalition updates if they have any to add to that. And again, pretty much our standard agenda. We will cover today. I know there's still been questions regarding the grant and its timeline, so we're going to cover that in in detail today. So hopefully, you guys will get some of your questions answered, and you will see how I have it kind of laid out in the slides. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started with our roll call. So we'll start with our hospitals, starting with Anderson Hospital.
Eric Brandmeyer's here representing Anderson Hospital and Community Hospital Staunton.
Cool. Thanks, Eric. Over to Alton Memorial. Anyone from Alton? I don't hear Aaron on. I'm trying to check the chat. And
This
if you
is
can,
Chantel
oh,
for Alton
okay.
Memorial.
Okay, awesome. Chantel, thank you. And if you can't, for those who may be unable or their mic may have mic issues, if you want to just put your information in the chat, if I don't hear you, that's fine. We'll get you accounted for. So we'll move over to Boyd. Hearing no one from Boyd, we'll go over to Carlinville Area Hospital.
Tyler's here from Carlinville.
I heard you, Tyler, and I think that I hear Nancy in the background.
Yes, I'm sorry I was a second late.
No problem,
here.
Nancy. Gotcha. Thanks, Nancy. Boyd, take care of over. We already got Stone. Fayette.
Hi, Phil. This is Tina.
Good morning, Tina. Over to Gateway Regional.
Morning, Phil. It's Sam from Gateway.
Gotcha, Sam. Thank you. To our HSHS partners out there, starting with Holy Family. Here we know from Holy Family. Move on to St. Elizabeth's.
Hi, Tim Claxton. I'll be here for St. Elizabeth and St. Joseph Highland today.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Highland. Anyone from Breeze?
Hi, this is Stacy from Breeze.
Thanks, Stacy. Over to Jersey. No one from Jersey today. Get a cup of coffee. I used to live in Jersey. Anyway, over to Moore Hospital, Belleville. You got myself, Scott Klosterman. I think Lee is at an appointment this morning. We got Sean Eisenhower and I said Scott Klosterman. Mike Gilbert is on as well. Over to Memorial Hospital, Chester.
Hi, it's Georgia. I'm here.
Morning, Georgia. OSF St. A's.
Good morning, Phil. Dennis Stanford and Tracy Bromgen are on.
Okay, great, Denny and Tracy. Good morning. Over to Redbud. How about Sparta?
Got Dan and Dale here, Phil.
Dan and Dale, thank you. Touche.
Hi, Jed here for Touche.
Great, gotcha. Over to the health departments, Bond County.
I'm here. This is Wendy with Bond County.
Thank you, Wendy. How about Calhoun County? Clinton County?
Morning, Phil. This is Brett.
Gotcha, Brett. Thank you. Over to Eastside Health. About Fayette County?
Kendra's here.
Thank you, Kendra. Greene County? Okay, Jersey County? About Macoupin County?
Morning, Phil. Derek here.
Gotcha, Derek. Thank you. Madison County?
Morning, Michelle's here.
Good morning, Michelle. Monroe County? About Randolph? I see you, Molly. How about St. Clair?
Good morning, this is Kara. I'm here.
Good morning, Kara. Over to our community partners and state reps. From REMSC perspective, I still don't think we have anybody attending this meeting for REMSC. Beth, are you on from our ERC? Beth, you're on. Oh, I see you on. I see your, what do you call it, in the chat, but I can't hear you. So if you're talking, I don't think we're here yet. Okay, and I see in the chat we do have Tara from Redbud and Megan for Calhoun County, and it did get Polly. Okay, and then Patrick and Carol for Holy Family and Highland. Okay, gotcha. Oh, all right. Any of our BJC partners on this morning? How about our emergency management agency folks? EMAs? No Sam Bierman. I'm gonna write my congressman, okay? Or Sam Rowland, excuse me. Over to MedStar. Any of our MedStar partners on?
Good morning, guys. Yeah, John.
Good morning, John. Over to Abbott Ambulance. Anyone from Abbott on? Okay, hearing none. How about SLU? I do see Julie in the chat from Jersey is on. Thank you. Any of our Scott Air Force Base partners on? And how about STARS and the STL Coalition?
Good morning. I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Who was that? Was that
Perfect.
Rachel?
This is Rachel, yes.
Gotcha. Perfect. Beth, I see you unmuted. Did you try to talk? Say something?
Just confirming, I'm here, Phil.
Yep, perfect. Gotcha. And I do see Brandy from 375th Med Group. Awesome. And Lieutenant Richardson. Awesome. Great, great, great. Awesome, awesome. Glad to have you guys on. All right, well, we'll go ahead and kind of get started. As far as open due outs and tasks, we have none, which is good. So we don't owe you anything. If we do, please let us know. Just shoot us an email or text or speak up when we get to the open forum at the end. I do see a few folks that are unmuted. I'm going to mute you if you're not about to talk, just to keep the background down a little bit so folks can be heard clearly. All right. So I guess we'll first start off with IDPH. I don't have any major IDPH announcements. I'm going to talk about the grant timeline. What I can say from a grant perspective is that we still have not received it. We still have not. It's not opened up for us on the HPP side in eGrams yet. At last discussion, they were targeting this week as the week for it to be opened, but it has not opened, and we're going to talk about the ramifications of that and the notional timeline that I do have outlined in today's slides. So we'll get into that into detail a little bit later. I don't have any again other IDPH style of announcements. But I will move over to Beth in the health departments, and if she has any IDPH announcements, feel free. So Beth, we're going to turn it over to you.
Where's the chat box? I need a chat.
You're unmuted. Beth, you're unmuted. So if you had something to add, go ahead. Looks like she might be having some computer trouble because she just dropped off. So what we'll do is we'll continue past. Okay, Tina, go ahead. I see you raise your hand.
Phil, is there an update about Greg?
I don't have an update that I can share just yet, but I will reach out again and to hopefully provide something. Like I said, I think it's been 2 months since we had our last update, but I don't have any. And I don't know if Mike is on. If he's heard, Mike, are you on? Have you heard anything additional about Greg? I don't know if Mike can talk just yet. So I will find out. So I'll put that as a to-do item, and I will try to send out something from at least what the coalition does know. And again, if Beth is on, I don't know if she has any updates regarding Greg.
Hey, Phil, can you hear me
Yep,
now?
I got you. You're loud
I
and
got
clear now.
kicked out. I don't know what happened.
It's okay.
I just heard you say something about Greg. I
Well,
have no official updates.
okay, yeah. Tina was asking, and I told her it was about 2 months since I'd last had any updates, but I was planning on reaching out anyway. But this will give me a little more motivation to see what we have, or what they can, or what he can tell us. I do know some things on the private side that I just can't share here, but I will reach out and ask him specifically. But Beth, if you have any IDPH announcements or your traditional health department uh, position and role as the ERC.
Sure. Grants for the local health departments are processing. Both CRI and STEP grants already been approved. Our side, they're going through, and after that, I'm not sure what the different steps are, but they are getting closer. We do have a new FEP coordinator, and she is eager and enthusiastic about getting these processed. So applaud to her. Going back to just public health stuff, I wanted to bring up dengue. I think I did last month, but it is still out there and it's still increasing. On July 31st, CDC's National Center for Emerging and Zoonotic Infectious Diseases escalated the dengue outbreak response from a program-led response to a center-led response. That's a kind of a big step for the CDC to do that. So again, we're seeing person-to-person transmission, or I shouldn't say person-to-person. We are seeing locally acquired transmission in the United States, in 48 states. So that's something new. COVID is slowly creeping up a little sooner than we expected. Usually it starts when school gets back in session, but for the last few weeks, it's slowly been creeping up. And H5N1, again, keeping an eye on that. There continue to be cases throughout the United States, but knock on wood, nothing in Illinois or Missouri. And that's the highlights. That's all I have, Phil.
Thank you, Beth. Any questions for Beth? Okay, hearing none, we will move on. Thank you again. Okay, we'll move over to STARS and Rachel. I have incorporated some slides that Rachel and the team have from STARS. Nick gave a similar briefing last year, but the goal this month is to kind of focus on what STARS is and or one of our goals this month is to discuss what STARS is for those who may be unfamiliar, and give her and their team an opportunity to provide you some context on their roles and how they're established, and give them the opportunity to answer any questions that you folks may have. As we all know, East West Gateway is a big community partner here, and they do a lot of things. And some folks don't understand exactly what they do, so we want to give them the time to provide that clarity, and you guys provide or to opportunity to ask any questions that you guys may have. If you have any questions and you can't talk, you can throw them in the chat, and I will relay them to Rachel. So without further ado, I will get into Rachel's slides. You just tell me slide, Rachel, and I will progress them.
All right, sounds like a plan. Good morning, everyone. Philip, thanks for the lovely introduction there. I think I am the only one here looking at the people list briefly from our team today, but hopefully I do a good job representing the whole team, and happy to pass along other contacts if you need to chat with someone who's not me after the presentation is done. As Phil mentioned, I'm here to present on STARS and the St. Louis Healthcare Coalition. So STARS stands for the St. Louis Area Regional Response System. Next slide, please. Awesome. Okay. So for our agenda today, I took a top-down approach to the conversation, starting with our highest level of business here, and then moving down into the more intimate details of the Healthcare Coalition and our functions. Before I get too into weeds, I do need to give credit to my colleague, Nick Kohlberg, for he did the bulk of these slides last year, and I simply had the nice job of editing them this morning to make some information more relevant to me. But that's where we're at today. Also, before I get too far, wanted to not introduce myself because I've been at these meetings for a few months now, but just kind of take a minute to say that I have only been here since April. So while I have faith in myself and can give a well put together presentation, if you have longevity questions or questions about past actions, I might not be the gal for you, but I can, as I mentioned, get you in contact with someone who's maybe had a little bit longer of a tenure at East West Gateway. Moving forward. So, all right, next slide, please, Phil. All right, so starting with the top of our list here is East West Gateway Council of Governments, or you'll often see it abbreviated as EWG-COG. As the first bullet point states, the purpose of East West Gateway is to provide a forum for cooperative problem solving and the coordinated development of regional policy. It was established in 1956, so about 60 years ago, which is an impressive tenure for a government agency. It started with the focus on regional transportation planning, bringing together counties in Illinois and in St. Louis area to really make a cohesive and collaborative look on transportation planning and other initiatives throughout the region, understanding that our work doesn't end at county lines, city lines, or even state lines in our urban area. Since its conception in 1965, East West Gateway has added new planning functions to its portfolio. We've expanded immensely, and in a couple of slides, I'll give you a little rundown of all that there is. So next slide, please. And here we are. So the planning initiatives for East West Gateway are categorized into 4 groups. We have transportation, we have community planning, research and analysis, and regional security. The company structure at East West Gateway is as you see on your screen. We have a board of directors made up of elected officials and other government officials throughout all of the counties that we represent. We have a great involvement from those individuals as well as their proxies to make sure that we are planning for the people and planning for the region's best interests. We also have groups that bring together citizens and officials and everyone in between to work on certain topic areas. Those are the 6 that you see below the board of directors there. Public information, or excuse me, public improvement plan, air quality, bicycle/pedestrian work, transportation, water resources, interagency consulting, and then we have STARS. So STARS is part of the Regional Security Planning Initiative. It is the largest and I believe only group within that Regional Security Initiative, but was brought to East West Gateway because of the successful collaborative work that they had done in the past, and brought there through the UASI grant and other grants that we work under. Next slide, please. All right, so STARS, as a mission statement, it is to help local governments, businesses, citizens plan for, protect against, and recover from critical incidents in the St. Louis region. So, as I just mentioned, funding for STARS comes from multiple different sources. We have the Urban Area Security Initiative, which is our UASI, if you've heard that term before. The UASI comes from Homeland Security down through certain urban areas that meet their requirements. St. Louis has been one since the conception of the grant. Kansas City, for example, goes in and out of being an urban area according to their stipulations. So we have been the stable one in the state and in the region for a while. It is consistent of 3 counties in Illinois, Madison, Monroe, and St. Clair, and the 5 counties in on the Missouri side of the river: St. Louis City, St. Louis County, St. Charles County, Franklin, and Jefferson. So within that work, UASI focuses on counterterrorism work, anti-terrorism trainings and preventions, and really just general urban area security. We also work through the Regional Catastrophic Preparedness Grant, the RCPG. This one is a grant that we apply for through STARS as work allows, and allows us to typically focus on one large project area that needs extra attention or funding. We just finished our latest grant for that, which we focused on supply chain. When we do our CPG work, we include our Illinois partners as well as the Missouri ones, intending to become more inclusive as we move forward. Our last large grant that we get funding through at STARS is the Hospital Preparedness Program grant, or HPP. That is what funds our healthcare coalition, as you all well know, and personally funds my position as well. The HPP grant is a little bit different from our other 2 in that it works with only Missouri counties, since it is a state-specific grant. However, we have this lovely partnership with our Hope Coalition friends here, and it allows us to do some really awesome cross-state line work. And I'll get into that a little bit more when I talk about the Healthcare Coalition specifically. So just to kind of sum it up, all of our funding here focuses on supporting regional emergency response to large-scale incidents, and we try to collaborate and grow that in the region as we can move forward. Next slide, please. So STARS is made up of subcommittees that focus on their specific area of expertise. We have a STARS board of directors that is made up of elected officials, government agents, all of the emergency management agencies from the area, as well as all of the chairs and vice chairs of our subcommittees. So we have a diverse group of voices that stands to direct our work. On the top, moving my mouse like you can see, on the top left corner of our subcommittee list, you'll see the St. Louis Regional Healthcare Coalition, STL, RHCC. Oh, thank you. that is our healthcare coalition. That is the equivalent of our Hope Coalition in Missouri. They are a special subcommittee, we like to call them, because it is a little bit different of a structure from the rest of ours. So I'll save that chat for another minute, but kind of run through the other subcommittees that we have. We have a communications core group. We work with healthcare, public health, EMS, emergency management, our USAR team, which are urban search and rescue. We have our hazmat team. We have a mass fatality, a subcommittee, law enforcement. The acronym within an acronym we all love is the St. Louis Area Regional Coalition of COADs, or what we like to call SLARC. And COADs, now testing myself, is shoot, guys, I apologize. I'm forgetting that acronym right now, but it's nonprofits that are active in disasters. I forget the C and the O words specifically. If someone knows them off the top of their head, feel free to put them in the chat. Happy to be corrected there, but it's folks like our church partners, our nonprofits. AmeriCorps works with them a lot, and they do a lot of the disaster response, boots on the ground work. And then last but not least, we have our training and exercise subcommittee. So, oh, excuse me. So yes, we have our training and exercise subcommittee, and then, as I should have said, last but not least, we have our Fusion Center. The Fusion Center is funded through the UASI grant. So it is a part of STARS in that aspect, but works independently in most spaces and is part of the larger Fusion Center network that runs across the United States. And I'd be more than happy to answer questions on Fusion Centers as well, but I'll just leave it at that for this time being. On this slide, before we switch, I just wanted to highlight that the training and exercise subcommittee is also a little bit of a special subcommittee because it is made up of representatives from each of the other subcommittees that speaks on behalf of their topic area. Lobbying is a harsh word in this space, but putting forward their best efforts to get trainings and exercises and other learning opportunities brought to benefit their topic area. So, for example, what I'm most intimately familiar with is our healthcare group, and we like to bring certain HICS trainings and other opportunities to the area for our healthcare people. And they have the training and exercise subcommittee has a pocket of funds that they use to provide those trainings. I also would love to emphasize here that besides the Healthcare Coalition, all of these subcommittees without question work within the 3 counties of our partners in Illinois. So the Madison, Monroe, and St. Clair counties. So if you are in one of those counties and haven't heard of this or wanted to be a part of a subcommittee that pertains to the work you do, please let me know, and I'd be happy to engage you in that space and bring you on board. I'm sure none of this is particularly new to you folks, but I know turnover has been prevalent in the past year. So, Phil, if you could transfer me to the next slide, please. All right. Yeah. So here's our Healthcare Coalition makeup. We have 10 counties in Missouri. And as I mentioned already, we do work really closely with the Hope Coalition in Illinois. So our 10 counties in Missouri, you can see here in yellow. And I would like to say that it's a failure of our map that it doesn't represent all of the Hope Coalition counties on here. So I do apologize for that. However, this was a Missouri-made map, so we all have our faults. But we do work closely with the Hope Coalition and beyond the 3 counties that the Hope Coalition represents in Illinois. Next slide, please. So we have a little bit just about the makeup of our Healthcare Coalition. So transitioning to the lowest level of our tier of conversation today is specifically about the Healthcare Coalition. So we have 9 counties plus the city of St. Louis, which operates as an independent county, as we all know. And as of 2020, had over 2 million in total population. I recently heard a fun fact about St. Louis County and how it has like one of the most municipalities of any county in the US, which I thought was crazy. I was talking to someone at the Homeland Security Conference. So even within our counties, we have a lot of little cities and municipalities to represent and try to do our best to incorporate all of those. Within our hospitals, or our healthcare coalition, we have 59 hospitals and 10 health departments. We have 59 of the 148 hospitals in Missouri. So a bulk of the medical tools and resources are located in the St. Louis region. That includes 2 of the 3 Missouri pediatric hospitals are in St. Louis. Right downtown, we have St. Louis Children's in like the Central West End area and Cardinal Glennon in Midtown. And we have a 5,000 patients daily census plus patients from 17 other CMS provider types. So that is 5,000 at our hospitals, plus we have all of the patients from FQHCs, the federally qualified health centers, and other provider types in the area. Next slide, please. So this is the slide, the most updated slide from last year, but is our current initiative list. And I'd love to spend a little bit of time sharing some of the ideas that I have for the Healthcare Coalition and a little bit of the stuff that we're working on. A lot of it will mirror the Hope Coalition's work due to the requirements of the HPP grant. We can't, unfortunately, get a little bit too creative with our work, but we do like to follow the work that is set out through the grant and how we can make it our own in the St. Louis area. So our first and foremost initiative as of right now is expanding the reach of the Healthcare Coalition. We have great partnerships within the subcommittees of STARS, so public health, hospitals, EMS, all of those folks. But we also, as a Healthcare Coalition, have the duty and the call to represent and work with our smaller CMS provider types. So in specificity, I've been working really closely with the federally qualified health centers to try to get them engaged in the coalition. We're working with trying to engage our urgent care partners, as well as school nurses and providers and other folks who touch the community in a much more intimate but equally as important way, meaning they might have less patients on a daily basis, but if there was a disaster, those are the folks that we're going to need to rely on most heavily for the community engagement pieces of our work. So that's been a big initiative of ours. We are also trying to create a cycle of preparedness on an annual basis, so ensuring that with or without the HPP grant cycles, we have prepared a space in which our coalition is regularly reviewing and editing and reaffirming our plans for various medical surge plans or burn or whatever it may be. I think in St. Louis have been a little bit more of a responsive or reactive coalition in lieu of being a fully prepared one in the past. And I think as we work towards these goals, we're hoping that that cycle of preparedness can help us maintain a level at which we're ready to go no matter what comes our way. Our next initiative is utilizing our UASI funds to propel regional projects. So at the moment, we have 3 projects being written and going out for bid to work on in the next 2 to 3 years. So that is our HMAX project, which is the Healthcare Multi-Agency Coordination System. This project will work in tandem with what's currently in place called the SMOC to effectively increase and better the communication around disaster occurrences in the St. Louis region, how we can propel forward a space in which not just our hospitals are being notified, but all of the necessary partners, should an event be large enough, have the awareness and the ability to communicate in a space quickly and efficiently. As we all know, time is of the essence when some of these things happen. Our second regional project is an access and functional needs regional assessment. we are working on that right now to write the scope. And then our third one through the UASI funds is a healthcare emergency management academy. And that's being modeled after a project that FEMA put on, and are hoping to engage our healthcare partners in the region in an emergency management education style project. Another last three initiatives. The next one is using our HPP funds to increase functional capabilities. So in this space, we're working on emulating a lot of what you guys have in the Hope Coalition, websites, standards, document sharing stuff, all of those goodies that we've had some turnover in the St. Louis Healthcare Coalition and are just looking to better solidify for the future. We are working to conceptualize a stronger after action review for the regional exercises. I know you guys have also been so bogged down with exercises this summer. So we've had the MRSE in St. Louis, we've had the DUT that was cross state lines. We've had just a number of other exercises. And so moving forward, we were really looking to solidify a process for putting out regional after action reports from the healthcare point of view, and ensuring that when we do these exercises, lessons learned are being taken and shared with everyone and acted upon. And lastly, we will have our Healthcare Coalition Summit in November. This initiative is growing and we're really excited about it. And we are looking for we are looking forward to having a large array of folks there. We have topics ranging from law enforcement to working with our critical infrastructure folks to an AFN session. So it'll be a really great thing, and I'll be sure to share out information for that as it develops with our partners in the Hope Coalition too, because we would love to see you guys out there. So I believe my last slide, Phil, is just contact information. But if we wanted to go back, I wouldn't mind leaving the other slide up if anyone had any questions about what we're working on or wanted me to explain anything further, clarify anything, stuff like that.
Thank you, Rachel. Great primer for questions if anyone has any. So I'll pause here for a moment. So if anyone has something, please just raise your hand and I'll get to you, or you can toss the questions in the chat. Well, I'll play the Jeopardy music in the background. Not seeing anything in the chat. Okay, any questions? Going once, twice. There we go. There we go. John, go ahead, John.
Okay, I'm sorry. Rachel did a great job. Phil, can you flip back a couple of her slides to where she shows the different committees, the subcommittees? Again, guys, it's so very important. Again, you know, we've been fortunate on the Illinois side to be a part of this. But I sit on the EMS committee. I also sit with a couple of the other committees. But what I'm saying, and I heard Rachel say it, and it's so true, these committees can't be strong. Opinions and processes and plannings can't be just put together by just my thought, you know. And I'm just using me as an example. You don't want me to be the one always sitting there representing Madison County or Monroe, which we do have in the EMS committee. We have a pretty good representation from St. Clair County, which of course, you know, is MedStar, and then Monroe County EMS. But again, each one of these coalition or these subcommittees could use new bodies, new brains, new thoughts, new processes. So when she said that, you know, if you're part of these regions and you didn't know these existed, like the healthcare, public health, the USAR, hazmat, and all that, please reach out to your folks within your areas and let them know that, you know, that STARS does exist. And it's been a great program for us. It's been a lot of help, which many of you may know. But again, I just wanted to push on this because Rachel, that was a great presentation, by the way. But there are many things that people can get involved. And if we don't get involved, then things don't change. We just stick to our old-fashioned ways. And, things around us change every day. So we got to be prepared to change for those situations. So just again, I just wanted to push that out, that if you see a committee there, a subcommittee that you think that we should have somebody from Madison, Monroe, St. Clair, please reach out to them to STARS. It's a very simple process, and we can get you in there. And your thoughts and your planning is very important to everybody. So we could all put that together, and it's just been an amazing networking for me. So I just wanted to put that out before we let her go.
Thank you, John. That was really kind.
Indeed. Thank you. Well stated, John. I think, one of the strong suits, since I've been in this role has been we have a lot of organizations across both sides of the river that provide needed services where, we may have a specific jurisdiction or municipality that is lacking, and it's groups like these, the subcommittees like these that help make that happen. So thanks to the STARS team for everything that they do across the region and their continued partnership with us on this side of the river, not just in the coalition, but just as a community of people. Definitely something that's needed, and it's not easy, to put a lot of these folks in a room sometimes or on a call and make things happen. And if you look back over the last 10 years and to see the changes and the things that we've gone through together, it's because we have groups like these undergirding it, to make sure that we make it across the finish line when we run into issues. So when there is a hazmat issue down in Dupo, all of those connections are made today. We know them. I won't say like the back of our hand, but because a lot of folks sit on these committees and talk and share things together, it makes the response to those incidents a little more seamless, no matter how big or small. So any other questions for Rachel?
Yeah, I see one in the chat. I would love to
Yeah.
answer, Phil, if I have a
Oh, yeah.
second.
Sure, from
Okay,
Tyler.
cool.
I'll read it out. It says, so to clarify, even though Macoupin County was not shown on the map, we do have access to STARS since we are part of the Hope Coalition? ?
Yeah. So Tyler, I thank you for your question because it can get a little confusing. So I'm very happy to explain. In Macoupin County, because you are not in the Madison, Monroe, St. Clair trio that is involved directly in the urban area security initiative. So those 3 counties are named in the grant. My apologies, I don't know where you work off the top of my head, but if you were in the public health or a hospital space or whatever, we would welcome you to be a member of those subcommittees. There are perfect, thank you, Carlinville Area Hospital. There are some restraints, as in like you wouldn't be able to be a voting member on projects due to the fact that your county isn't directly included in the grant language. There's some legal stuff with that I, to be honest, don't fully understand, but do follow per our grants manager. But we would be happy to have you involved in all of the trainings and the work that we do. Those are open to folks who need them. And like I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, disasters don't stop at county lines. And so it would be just silly of us to disclude anyone right beyond those borders because of the border that sits there. So I hope that answers your question, and we'd be happy to have you in our healthcare subcommittee if you would like to participate and converse with all of the other healthcare folks in the area.
Thank you, Rachel. Hopefully that helps answer your question, Tyler.
Hey, Phil, can I add something to that?
Yes, Beth, please.
So over the years, we've had an excellent relationship with the state of Missouri and the USC counties, the STARS group, and they have been very helpful and open in letting us, as Macoupin County, the other Hope counties that are not part of STARS, participate in the training and the exercises and any of the events that they host. We have been fortunate to be able to attend and participate in those, and this goes back years and years. It's a good relationship, and as Rachel said, the event doesn't stop at the county. I always like to say it doesn't stop at the river. So we appreciate that relationship, and sounds like we'll be able to continue. Thank you.
Thank
Most
you, Beth.
definitely. Thank you. With that being said, I'll give one slight plug and then I will promise to turn it back to you, Phil, for good. But if we have folks here in the Madison, Monroe, St. Clair trio or outside who have ideas or thoughts for our AFN scope. So we're doing a region-wide access and functional needs assessment in which we are hoping to spend, we're hiring a contractor and hoping to get through a almost like an assessment and research piece of a project, as well as a exercise or like database development project in terms of focusing on different AFN topics. So we are sourcing topic ideas from public health, healthcare, EMS, emergency management, and mass fatality, those green ones that make up the healthcare coalition there. We are hoping to find a topic area or project for each one of those groups that then we can focus our energy into developing some access and functional needs tools and assessments and or like toolkits, something. It's a very vague project right now because we're still sourcing ideas. But if anyone here has ideas and would be interested in sharing those or interested in being a part that brings this project together, I would love to receive those from you. And my email's in the slides and I can put it in the chat too. But those would be a great help to us, and anything we're looking to get that done in the next couple of weeks. The official deadline was last week, but always good ideas. Always welcome good ideas as we move forward too. So I will leave it at that and feel free to brainstorm and let me know.
Awesome. Eric, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
I do, Phil. Yeah, I think it's a question I know the answer to, but we have Rachel here. So, Rachel, is there any way that if people were interested to join any of the STARS committees that John spoke of, EMS, healthcare, whatever, they might be able to from the Hope Coalition? Is there an application form that would be available?
Yes, there is, and I'd be happy to share that if folks would be interested. Application seems like a harsh word. We won't deny you. Mostly just want to make sure that we have all the information we need about where you work and what you do, and what subcommittee you want to join. But I did put my email in the chat. It's a large PDF, so I won't be able to share it with everyone right now, but I could also send it to Phil if you would be interested to share it out, and maybe some post meeting minutes or something like that too.
Indeed, I'll put that on our to-do list and we'll add that to when we send the meeting minutes out.
Sounds great. Thanks for the question, Eric.
All right, let's we will move on. And while you did, I know you talked about some initiatives coming up. Were there any healthcare coalition specific initiatives that you needed to speak about, Rachel?
No, I do believe I included all that in the presentation, but thank you.
Perfect. All right. Remert. Anyone from Remert that might join? I'm trying to look here.
Hey, it's Lee.
Go ahead, Lee.
Nothing really to change. We have the IndyCar event coming up, followed shortly thereafter by the Belleville Marathon that we'll be supporting. And then we do have Songs for Soldiers down in Monroe County, as well as Belleville Chili Cook-Off, I believe, coming up yet this fall. Beyond that, I don't know of really anything else. We are doing some training. We just did do training yesterday with the vendor for our two mid-fidelity mannequins. And we're continuing to try to master those. They're remarkably complex. So anybody has interest in doing any training, whether it is of the TECC or any of the other National Association EMT courses, please reach out. It's definitely things that we can support from a REMERT perspective. So other than that, not much else to say.
Thanks, Lee. A few things I will just point out of note with regard, and there, it's not REMERT specific equipment, but alternate care site equipment, if you will. We did receive in the last month, we did receive both the new telemetry system, and we've got that all. We don't have it all. I won't say put together yet, but we have it all, and it's all been biometed, all that. We're just gotta get it in a deployable fashion, but brand new. So that was a big bill for last year. It was like $143,000 dollar project. So that's a good thing. We did get one piece of our new quasi alternate care site. I'm not going to call it Field Hospital whatsoever, but one of the new tents from the DLX Corporation. If you guys have seen them, you can take a look at the DLX ASAPs, ASAPs. So they're rapidly deployable tents, and we went out and put it up in the warehouse after the day we received it. Just to see, how long it takes. We've seen it done at some trade shows or conferences before, and you can look at it online if you go to their website. But completely untrained, just outside of my 23 years of putting up tents and putting down tents in the military, but just reading the instructions, myself, Lee, and Sean. It's designed to be put up with two folks. Went up rapidly. We probably put together, reading the instructions and everything, liners, plenum, all the whole nine in about 30 minutes. So we probably can get that down to about 20 minutes with a couple practices, to be quite honest. So that's a good thing as well. So that kind of closed out what we did for this past grant year. And we got some ventilator PMCS stuff for biomed to keep our Zoll vents at the ready. So a lot of good things there. And that will transition to our initiative with how we're repackaging things at the warehouse. So things been going on at the warehouse. I'm just saying this during REMERT because there's been a lot of REMERT manpower that went into that to make sure some of those things are complete. So more to come. All right. I'm not gonna breeze through this. I'm gonna take some time on this because it's always a question, but we're gonna talk about grants and timelines so everyone can really kind of focus in and have what I'm just consider a roadmap for each year. So you can kind of refer back to either this video while it's on YouTube or meeting minutes or these slides. So you can kind of have a good understanding of how things work with regard to the grant. So this is just an overview of the fiscal year versus the calendar years and how we go forward each year. So if you're new to this role or if you're the first time you're seeing this, this is how each year is broken up. We are, if we look at 2024, BP5 for FY24 just closed out in at June 30th. So between June and July, we're now right here, right at the beginning, first quarter of BP1 for FY25. And as you see, that will go through and then it will come back around and we'll close out in June 30th. And in FY25 will close out June 30th in calendar year 2025, and then it will open up BP2 FY26 1 July, and then close out June 30th, et cetera, and that just continues on. So that's the kind of cycle. Notable things is that a lot of our organizations here have a fiscal year that runs calendar year from January to December each year, and then the federal government starts 1 October and ends 30 September every year. So if you think about those, we're all kind of operating in 3 different timelines. I'm going to say the sacred timeline for my Marvel Cinematic Universe nerds, and I put myself in that category on here. The sacred timeline is ours, the Hope Coalition. I'm going to label that 616, the Hope Coalition timeline, which is fiscal year 1 June to 1 July to 30 June each year. That is the sacred timeline. That is the one that matters the most to each of you when it comes to knocking down any of our deliverables or understanding when the grant starts, stops, et cetera, and what dates are important to you. So this is kind of a walkthrough of specific dates. So this is like, we'll just call this project proposal for FY27, something that is in the future, and we'll kind of walk through it. So if we're looking at a FY27 timeline, the spending ending in FY25 for that will be BP 2 would end in 6/30/2025. FY26 will begin right there on 7/1/2025 and end all the way around, like we talked earlier, 6/30/2026, right? So that FY26 begins. What happens now is that you will in turn we open up the project proposals every year on 7/1/2025, and then project proposals will close on 11/15/2025. Around February timeframe, we've kind of consolidated after the holidays. We've consolidated all the project proposals, maybe a late submission or two, get them in, and then I will convene the executive council. We'll take a look at those, prioritize based on our mission goals and tasks that we have outlined in our strategic plans, integrated preparedness plans, and the coalition assessment tool. And we say, okay, yep, this can go, this can't. And we rarely, if any time, have to deny a project proposal. Okay, rarely, if any times, we have to deny a project proposal, but it does happen. Sometimes this happens in the grant management side of things where an organization may have too much risk associated with them and their project may be denied based on that. But that's an organizational thing. That has nothing to do with programmatic things or our goals as a coalition. Okay, that's specifically an organizational issue. After that, I prepare the budget where it says around April 15th. I will prepare the budget and all the budget documents. ASPR will in turn send down the notice of funding opportunity sometime around somewhere between April, May, sometimes as late as June, to the states. And when I say the states, that goes to IDPH. IDPH in turn sends the budget to the coalitions on what we'll get that year. Sometimes it changes, sometimes it doesn't. For an example, last year's budget and this year's budget are the exact same amount. Then once that happens, BJC prepares subawards for those approved proposals that we looked at back in February timeframe. So we garner all the documentation and start working with those organizations who have approved project proposals, approved from our executive committee, not approved through BJC Grants Management Office yet. Subaward recipients have to complete all the risk paperwork and all the other paperwork before their grant is submitted or their subaward is submitted. IDPH will around June 15th open up eGrams for the HCCs to begin to put in the work plan, the budget, all of those things that I have to do every year. We normally get around 30 days. Well, during that 30-day time frame, that 30-day window, the new budget period begins. Project proposals open up for FY28 for the future year. And then somewhere around that 30-day mark, should be around the middle of July, we would be submitting proposals. During that time frame, IDPH will look in and try to approve the budget and finalize the subaward with the subawardees. So somewhere around September timeframe, September to October, you're hoping that you've got a signed subaward back from GMO, and then you can begin spending based upon what you submitted. And then around November timeframe again, the FY28 project proposals close. So I'm going to scoot over to this slide here. So a lot of everything of what I said happened is on this screen here and mapped out kind of in a timeline so you can kind of see where that occurs. Okay, so where spending normally starts and where it hard stop has to end each year, and each one of those milestones across the sacred timeline, our timeline here. What I want to point out is that this is, again, a notional example, and I would consider this the best case scenario. Okay, out of the 9 years that I've been doing this, the best case scenario that things happen in this order and around this time. That is not where we're at today. That is nowhere near where we're at today. As I alluded to earlier, it is now the beginning of August, and eGrants has not opened up. So we don't, I have all the project proposals, I have the budget, I have everything, I have all those things, but we have not been able to submit. And when it opens up, I'll have 30 days or will have 30 days to get all of that documentation done. So by my estimates, again, this is the notional best case timeline. By my estimates, we'll go from first week of August. If we get it this week, then somewhere around September. So I would say at the best case for you guys, somewhere around October, for those who have submitted, would have their projects back or their proposals back in a fully executed subaward. After we have our executed grant, you will get an executed subaward. Spending cannot take place at the organizational level, the subawardee level, until that time. Okay. So I put both of these years here because I want everyone to understand that you may start a project. You submit a project proposal in July of FY25, right? That project proposal is basically, or for, excuse me, in July of calendar year 24, the beginning of FY25, you may not be able to spend for 13 to 18 months after you submitted that project proposal. Okay, so you have to have a good foresight in things that you need. So if you're talking about trying to replenish consumables that you have for, let's say, decon, you're looking at stuff well in advance. So you should be looking at those expiration dates on whether it's your PPE, filters, etc. You should be really looking outward so you'll know when that's coming up so you can align those time frames. And again, I would always put no less than 12 months from this. I mean, at the best scenario, it's 12 months from 1 July that you'd have it. And we're never in that spot. So you're going to be somewhere between 15 to 18 months. So January of, a year out, the second January that you'll be passing. So you got to have a lot of foresight. You got to put on your glasses and look as far forward as you can. You may have some slow moving things like vaccine refrigerator. We've done that. Or, something like that for a pod, things that you don't need right at this moment. But if it's something that you're like, oh, we need that soon, it's not best. If it's something that's a short timeline, you're going to want to put that, you want to make sure that you're organizationally prepared for that. You don't want to do that by a grant. You want to make sure those things you have a budget for at the organization level. Larger projects and things that you have that are a little slower moving are probably best suited for the grant. You know, we can't do things like response stuff that you need. You know, you can't be like, oh, I just responded to this. I want to replenish XYZ. Can I submit a proposal? No, that time frame has more than likely passed. You'll be submitting a proposal for something in the future. Okay. So this, I believe, again, gives you at least good insight from a notional perspective of when your money can start, you can start spending it, and how and when that spending stops. So we need to, all of these things have to happen before you can spend any funds if you've submitted a project proposal. So I want to pause here to ask the question, or allow folks to ask questions about the grant, and whether it's this year, next year, please ask away. I know it's about clear as mud. All right. I see Kendra in there says, will there be an email sent out for the new project proposal forms? Can you be a little more specific when you say new project proposal forms? We sent out in the last, I know in the last meeting, Lee incorporated some slides with regard to the project requests that's open now. So that opened up 1 July. So I can send that out or toss it in the chat again, but that is in the last set of slides that went out. And that's pretty STEM. So okay, indeed, I will send you a copy of that, or matter of fact, I'll put it in the chat here in a second because I am a member Planet as we speak. Okay. All right, and I see Kara. She has a question. To clarify, the proposals we are submitting for November. Okay, thanks, Lee. Lee just tossed that in there. But Kara says, to clarify, the proposals we are submitting now, November 2024, we will be allowed to spend no earlier than 9/15/26. Okay, so the ones that you are submitting today. So we'll be in FY25, right? So we are in FY25 now. Yes. So those will be for BP2 because we have everything that we have for BP1. So those will be for BP2. You're exactly right. So at the earliest, if the world worked like you and I wanted to work, you would be able to start spending 1 July FY26. But more than likely, it'll be somewhere around October, November 2025, FY26, 2025, before you could possibly spend anything. I would lean closer to 1 January calendar year 2026. That's where I would lean closer to. We've had 2 years where that I can recall where spending began, that we had everything done. Spending began in September/October. That was BP4. We leaned really high. IDPH, I'll give Teresa Tolar a ton of credit and the good folks at IDPH. They really leaned hard. They got stuff back from the feds, from ASPR, and pushed really, really hard to make sure that we were able to spend. We also got pre-approval to spend on training that year. So we did a lot. BP5 is a little bit different because we didn't have as much training there. So we didn't push as hard. We had the large scale items. Again, that's why I'm saying we just had the 143,000 for the Philips monitors, those things. So those were very slow moving, but we got them. But we didn't have enough funds to do a lot of training like we did the year prior. But that year, and it was BP2 as well. Those were years where we kind of spent fairly rapidly and started around the September timeframe. So yes. You're right. If you're submitting something this year, calendar year, in the proposals that are open currently, you're probably looking somewhere around October of calendar year 2025 to January 2026 before you can spend a penny of those funds. And the first thing you do, just as a reminder for those who've done this plenty of times, or if you haven't done this before, the first thing you need to do before you spend a dime is submit your invoices for the months prior, and those will be $0 invoices. So there should be the very easiest thing before you can spend or claim reimbursement. You have to submit your invoices for the months prior. So if you have a executed grant, an executed subaward in October, I'm just going to highlight this. If in October you receive your executed subaward, your first instinct is going to want to spend. First thing you need to do before you do that, you need to submit your invoices for July, August, and September showing $0. So it really should take 20 seconds. Maybe you got to run it through your accounting folks out there. Let them bless it off, but you have to submit that prior. $0, 000, really simple. And then you can go ahead and spend. And then in November, you can submit for October. And then you'll do one each month until you have a zero balance. Once you have a zero balance, if you spend everything, if you got it in October and you spend everything in December, you're done. You don't have to submit another. Once you get to zero, you don't have to submit another invoice to the grants management office. So get it spent early. You'll be good. Got it. Okay, Carrie, you got your question answered as well. Questions. Okay. A couple more seconds. Okay, I don't see anything in chat. If you do have any, just saw a hand go up. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Whose hand just went up?
It's Tina, sorry.
No, go ahead, Tina, please. Oh, you had no question, just accidentally hit the raise hand button. Happens to me all the time. No problem.
I know by the end of July, we're supposed to review our coalition's policies and plans, but I could not remember what format those are in. So I didn't do it. I'm self-reporting myself for that.
Okay. So yeah, we do have next month is when we're supposed to be voting on plans, policies. We haven't made any major changes. I haven't received any major changes yet. So, I mean, that's always a good thing. And I'll talk about that at the very end. Okay, well, we'll move on. If you do have questions, concerns, please just let us know. Here, I'll run through the upcoming events really quickly. Just got some decon courses coming up. As you can see, the Belleville Marathon and your project submission deadline. And again, we are targeting the Mercy exercise for spring of 2025. Had a few emails with Rachel, and we're going to start that process here soon, just the initial planning process, because we are trying to conduct a joint medical response surge exercise with both sides of the river. We're going to try to, Wonder Twin powers activate. That's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to maximize the manpower that we do have and create something that's both realistic and something that folks can take away from this year. So that'll be the first of what we plan on being many more to come. I do want to take a time out to also, I'm going to stop sharing the slides here and just share my screen because I noticed that we do not have, I left out a slide here. But here, we'll move over to here. Hopefully you can see, you guys are very familiar with this calendar and the things that we do on it. Two things are going to slide to the left, that have to slide to the left. Down here, as you can see, where we have our HVA and IPPW workshop. I know we talked a couple months ago, and we've been reminding folks about submitting their HVAs. Please do that. Send that to info@swillhope.org especially for the hospitals, so we can incorporate that into a overarching version of it. And that's just with the Kaiser Permanente tool. We're going to talk later again about the risk tool and all of those things But we're going to move these workshops, so please be on the lookout. The HVA and IPPW, we're going to move them up. So Sean, if you're on, I can't remember the dates off the top of my head. I don't have that little spreadsheet open, but we're going to move them up to September. So one's going to be at the end of August. It's going to be a primer, and then we're going to follow it up at the end of September for the HVA, and the same for the IPPW. We're going to move that up to September and follow that up in October. And the reason we're doing that is because last month, if you guys recall, I showed a slide that talked about having your strategic plan completed and submitted back to the state by 31 December. So by the end of the year, we have to have that done. And we can't do that without having this information prior to. So we want to finalize that. Now, we've already conducted an IPPW from last year. We're using that as the initial portions of it. We want to make sure that we're square with the, we want to make sure that we're square with what the NOFO has outlined. Our capstone event, what I will say, and I'll share this with you because next month we're going to go through this in detail. Our capstone event is going to be in BP3, which is FY27. So that'll be spring 2027, where we're looking to have our capstone event, and that will be an extended downtime, as CrowdStrike would have it, extended downtime across the entire region. That's what we're planning for and what we want to take part. So, and when I say extended, we're going to talk about that probably will be a multi-day exercise for us. So get your thinking caps on and be prepared to jump on a subcommittee to make sure that that exercise goes without a hitch. But we got plenty of time for it. We got almost 3 years, 2 years, and I don't know, maybe 8 months to get that knocked out. So please be on the lookout for that when it is time for those workshops and all the planning that takes place. I'm looking in the chat now. I do see HSHS over at Highland having a decon class on 17 October. Cool, that's great. And August 28th. Okay, Sean said August 28th is what we discussed for the HVA workshop. So yeah, please be on the lookout for that.
Phil, we had talked about trying to gather all the HVAs together and have something to put on paper as kind of a coalition type view.
Okay, perfect. So when the invite goes out for that, please see that and sign up for it. We're a little over time for this meeting, so I'm going to try to truncate it here, but I do want to open it up for questions, concerns that any folks from around the region may have. Go ahead, Eric.
Thanks, Phil. Let's just say that somebody had a mass casualty incident that they know would be trauma, and they would need to activate the region to get up-to-date bed counts for our ERs. But we also know that there's not one over on our side of the river that does trauma per se. So they might want to know what the friends across the river would have available. How would one do that most efficiently?
Okay, say that one more time. I want to make sure I understood the full question. So you said somebody had a trauma incident, but you said we don't have a.
So like last night, okay, we ran an exercise. I'll bluff the being coy thing. So we have an exercise. We're going to have one again on Thursday. If anybody who's listening, so get ready to update your ED bed counts as far as red, yellow, green. But we had the same thing, Phil, if you remember when we had the Amazon tornado. Initially, we thought there were at least 50 people that might be trapped or very badly injured. That was the initial report. So when I made the mistake of calling you when I was driving to the hospital and told you about it, you right away activated our friends across the river to get a bed count to see what type of trauma services numbers we had available. So in the exercise that we're running is a active shooter. So trauma services, is important to get the capability at that particular time so we can at least mock send these patients to the appropriate destination. And then even more specifically, if we're talking about a school, pediatric trauma services are even more important. Does it make sense?
No, that makes sense. So, proper course of action. So, two things, and I know that one part in what Eric kind of outlined, like when he said he gave me the call, and we discussed this a while ago. It's good that he gave me the call, and not just because I'm me and I'm going to do what's right. No. I'm just thankful that he called me. But we talked about trying to make sure that we kind of stay in the pocket of, our response procedures just on this side. So just for those who are listening, if you've never had to do this before, real world or otherwise, yes, always giving Phil a call is a good thing, but make sure that we are alerting the RHCC. And when I say that, a lot of times we put RHCC and we put a face to it, but hitting our ED first, or contacting the line that we have publicized. And this is kind of a good thing that we're talking about this. If you look on the cover of our EOP, this is something that will change, by the way. It tells you to dial a specific phone number. It says like it's 767 RHCC, but then it has the numbers right beside it. You know how folks, when they're really like, oh, dial, like if I can make it say dial HOPE, HOPE, da, 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 da. And I believe that's what was on the original line. We had it as HOPE, and those are the numbers that are there, but the letters show RHCC that are there. So those numbers are, so it'd be 767, I believe, 7, I'm looking at the phone now, 7422. That's the proper number. And what happens is if you call that, if it's during the daytime, it'll ring at all our phones and it gets forwarded to the operators. The operators will call whoever's on call for that time. So if it's me or if it's Lee, we will in turn run a bed query through EM Resource. And if it's of the magnitude like we thought that night of a tornado, or if it's an active shooter incident and like the exercise that you guys ran yesterday and the one that's coming up on Thursday, we will in turn, we have the capability to alert the west side of the river through EM Resource, and then we'd make some phone calls as well. Now, consequently from yesterday's exercise, what we did find out, because Sean is new here on our staff, one of the things that we did identify, so we're like, all right, Sean, you send it out. So we identified that his account isn't the same as my account or Lee's account or Mike Gilbert's account for that matter, and probably not the same as John Nowak's account for that matter, who have the access to reach across both sides of the river. And then also knowing the folks over there. Good thing about Sean is he knows all the folks on that side of the river, so he would definitely make the phone calls if needed, but he wouldn't have been able to wake the trees and get the red, yellows, and greens updated like myself or Lee or Mike Gilbert or John Nowak could do. But again, it's contacting the RHCC, and that can be by phone or raising on the radio on EMS R4, and that will alert everyone plus the RHCC, and then I will get a phone call probably from the ED first saying, hey, just got this call over the radio. Anderson exercise is having an active shooter incident at their location and multiple victims down, blah, 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 blah. Let's start our kind of tree of waking everyone up. And then I would go on EM Resource and go down the same path that I discussed earlier. So hopefully that was a lot of talking, and hopefully that answered the question. If not, Eric, let me know, and I will provide more context and clarity for everyone else.
I remember you scolding me for calling you.
That's not true.
That's the way I remember it, brother. Okay, well, I don't know, maybe it's just me. So let me ask one more question. So if I call the RHCC hotline, which I see that Lee posted in the chat, by the way, which we did, would it be beneficial to say, and we ask that you please reach across the river and see what trauma services are available? Or
Yes,
is that,
sir.
okay,
Yeah, that's yeah, more than appropriate. Probably best because I'll be freaking out or somebody's freaking out a little bit and they might not be thinking of everything. So if you
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
if somebody's got the foresight to say, hey, we need to know what trauma services we got because GSW this, GSW that, blah blah blah. We want to make sure that we're making sure the appropriate people are contacted. And as
very
you can
good.
see, Rachel has in there, she said, we'd be ready to receive that call. So yeah, we definitely would have both. They would set up their HMAX and the SMOC, all the things would be set up and running to make sure that you guys are getting or whoever in this region is receiving the support that they need to respond appropriately.
Okay, we'll try to get on Thursday.
Let's do it.
Phil and Lee also we don't have as coordinated a RHCC hotline, unfortunately, but there's the chair and vice chair and myself who all have the ability to activate this side of the river quite quickly through like an HMAX Everbridge alert. And so if worse comes to worse in a disaster scenario and you can't get EM resource to load or something's taking too long, contacting one of the three of us would start processes on this side of the river until we were able to catch back up. So I just wanted to put that in there too.
Appreciate that, Rachel. I appreciate that. And I saw Sean had his hand up. I know we talked about a few of these things. Sean, did you have something additional to add?
Hey, Phil. Yeah, I was just going to add on to Eric's question with so the way that Amazon unfolded that night, actually Lee and Mike Gilbert had on their capes and they were flying to the scene. And so Lee had called me and I reached out to the other SMOC duty officers. And, there's pros and cons about St. Louis with having large healthcare systems, probably more pros than cons, but we can mobilize pretty quick because BJC is one phone call. Used to be to me. Now it's Mike Lauer and we can notify Barnes Jewish ER. And then same thing for Mercy. Andrew Blevins makes a phone call. Helen at SLU takes care of SSM. So we all get on a phone call and we're like, this is kind of what we're looking at. The initial call was maybe for, 100 patients that were trapped. So we started having discussions. To Rachel's point, we have an Everbridge notification group where we can get everybody on a conference call. So we all start leaning forward, much like everybody on this call. All of us know what the others do, but not everybody else at your hospital knows exactly what you're doing on a daily basis and all the networking and relationships that you've built. So all of that is going to be immediate response, Eric. Once that phone call gets made to the other side of the river, like Rachel said, with the HMAX or the SMOC. Did that answer a little more detail?
Yeah, it did. And I mean, we get a lot of this stuff because we had the I-55 mass accident that occurred. And when we were able to just call directly to the other side of the river and get the right person, the information we received on trauma services was very quick. I just trying to follow the appropriate channel to get there because yesterday, the person that we had on scene as the hospital liaison was calling directly to the St. Louis trauma hospitals, one by one. It worked for the most part. Didn't get the right people at a couple of the places. But the bottom line is at least we were be able to make contact. So that was the big thing. And I was just looking for the best way because like I said, in the way I remember it, I got scolded for calling Phil directly. So I don't want to do that again. He's not a guy I want to make mad. So.
Well, hey, Eric, why don't you and I just follow up offline and we can work for your next drill. And I'm working with Lee today to fix my EM resource access on this side of the river.
Yeah, fantastic. I don't want to bore anybody else with this. So it's good stuff.
I appreciate it. Me scolding Eric. That's funny. I see John has his hand up because I was gonna say if there's one person who really needs that information, it's my buddy John. But go ahead, John.
Yeah, I was just gonna add again, we do have this wonderful tool, and again, like Eric being up there in that Madison, we do have trauma facilities that we can alert, and yes, EM resource can do it, and I hope they get you straightened out with you should be able to do that through your hospital. But yes, you should always reach out. But let's not forget that truly in a large scale MCI, of over 100 people, 150 people, we want to be able to find out trauma, not just from the St. Louis area, but that EM resource, if it's done and you have it set up the right way, you can also alert like up Springfield area. What is that, Region 3? And you can get their trauma. You can actually set it up to where it alerts the trauma facilities. Well, it's only level 2 trauma, but it's still a trauma down in Region 5 and Carbondale. So again, that seems like it's far away, but when you have helicopters landing, they can get to these places quite quickly. They do take, again, it's just that big thought of 150 patients. We have some wonderful trauma centers in St. Louis, but I think if we had all 150 that were trauma, that were really marked that critical red, maybe not so critical red, but maybe yellow that's pretty critical in between, we would overwhelm the 4 or the 3 major trauma centers. They're pretty quick. So when we think that, and the best time to find out how to do it and get it done is while we're doing exercises. How do I do when I send out that MCI alert with over 100 patients? Can I reach other regions on that EM resource? And that answer is yes. It's just all about how we get ourselves set up in our dashboards and our templates to do those alerts. If that makes any sense to anybody.
Indeed. Nope, it does. Thank you, John. Yep. And we have the capability, and we're expanding that as we speak. So awesome. All right, team. Lots of good conversation here for today. If you do have any other additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me or anyone on the team. You can if you don't know who to reach, you can always send it to info@swohope.org, and that'll get to each of us, and we will participate. I do see a note, Eric. We did have a question in there about from Carol, seeing if you could provide any lessons learned. So that would be awesome. We are still consolidating ours from our lessons learned from our active shooter full scale exercise. And we are also consolidating our response to CrowdStrike. So that will be another point of discussion for next month. And you'll probably see a workshop or kind of a meeting request from all the healthcare facilities around our region to just kind of have an open forum to discuss what we all learned and what we saw in our response to the CrowdStrike. Again, because our capstone event, FY27, so spring of 27, we will be looking at a massive downtime event that we will have to do, part of this grant cycle anyway. So this, I guess, is very apropos. So we'll leave it here. Thank you for your time, patience, and support, and we will see you next month if I don't see you sooner. Take care.
Thank you.